Yeah, man. So, yeah, that'll wrap it up for pretty much the NXT talk. The Rock turned 50 years old today. Dwayne Johnson. Um, I was fortunate enough to watch a lot of his career, pretty much, and up until like I don't know, maybe 2001 I saw, and then I've seen all his comeback stuff, essentially. And The Rock. You like imagine if they would have got rid of The Rock after 90 days.
Well, that wouldn't have happened back then because they didn't have like 50 people that they're all trying to teach at the same time how to wrestle. They had like a handful of people.
Yeah, and they almost screwed it up with him too. So
Yeah.
but yeah, happy birthday to The Rock for sure. I don't like. It's crazy to think of The Rock as like this 50-year-old guy. Like, because I remember hearing Jim Ross's voice, WrestleMania 15. He was like, this man's 27 years old or 26 years old. He's main eventing WrestleMania. His first WrestleMania right now, and it's like, bro, do you know what would have to happen? What kind of act of God would have to happen for like a 27-year-old to like main event WrestleMania at this rate?
I mean, Rock got a clone.
Right.
Who else could do that?
Yeah. Like, and you think about, like, he was essentially done by the time he was, like, 31 years old. He was, like, kind of phasing out of wrestling for the first time. And you think about, like, how quickly, like, his career is a fucking flash. Like, compared to, like,
5 years.
Like, we've been, the time we've spent coming back and watching wrestling since, like, 2012, right? Like, that's half the time The Rock was around. And, like, for, like, like a third of it, they had no idea what to do with him. Like, and then, he goes around and takes, like, he gets to the top in 2 years. That first year is essentially a wash. Like, you got to throw that one away. So, like, it was really, like, 4 years of him, and he takes over, becomes, like, a huge star. Lots of big rivalries with Austin, with Foley, Triple H. Of course, he's in the Nation of Domination, Nation and DX stuff, and he he really I thought there was something interesting. Like, he does all this stuff, gets to the top, main events all those WrestleMania. They beat him at like 3 WrestleManias in a row.
Yep.
Imagine that. And they really don't treat him well on the way out. Like, they let his contract like expire in 2005 because they think he's gonna flop and he's gonna have to come back and
at a discount.
Man, it's amazing that, and I think it's The Rock. There is no one that understands like Rock had to do his jobs, right? But he was always gonna get them shits back, and like there's a job that was done that he's still waiting to get back one day, and I don't know if like his body is gonna like basically hold up for him to get this done or whatever. But Brock Lesnar owes him one, like, and the table is set to get that back or whatever. And you can check out Brock Lesnar's book like for some of that stuff, and The Rock like knows when to lay down and when He's been taught the business by his grandmother, by his grandfather, by his mom, by his dad, like coming up for years. Pat Patterson from the time he was a teenager. So like, I think some of the political stuff behind Rock's career is fascinating that I don't think people really dive into as much because obviously him and Shawn Michaels never worked together. The long rivalry with Triple H and him doing way more jobs for Triple H than like was warranted, I think. And him.
What do you mean you think? It's flat out. It's like that's what it is. That shit was ridiculous.
Like him like putting over like Jericho and Angle or whatever, and it was like they weren't gonna get up going through Triple H, like and good luck getting Austin to like do a lot of jobs around that time, and it was like Rock kind of broke the system like for WWE because he was just so fucking great that they developed a lot of bad habits.
Right.
He developed a lot of bad habits with The Rock.
Yep.
Any thoughts on The Rock, James?
Man, like the Rock in pro wrestling is like something you have to like is a place and time. Like that whole run was a place and time. Um, like to explain to somebody like from 98 Royal Rumble or so, or to um basically like 2000 that this person was gonna do that, and then the next thing you know, like become like the biggest star in Hollywood. 20 years later, over the next 20 years, you had to be there. You just had to. You can't like unless maybe there's a book that can encompass it. I don't know if there's one out there. There should be. I'd buy it. I'd read it. But the dude was one of a kind. Like for me, like he's the best promo ever. He's the most charismatic person ever in pro wrestling. Like I'm sure you have your arguments. You're like, and I'm sure you got your reasons or whatever else. Don't bring it to me. I don't want to hear them. Don't give a fuck. Don't care. Don't care. You want to say Ric Flair? Sure. I'm not going to argue about that. Don't care, bro. CM Punk? Sure. Don't care. MJF? Don't care. Johnson? Don't care. Name anybody you want to. I do not care. Flair was the guy. He absolutely was. The Rock was doing shit that like shouldn't have worked at all. He made it work. Shit that people try to replicate. Can't even do it as good as he was. Think of how over Elias got doing basically less inferior version of the Rock concert.
Yes. Like that should tell you. Jesus. I need someone to steal the $500 shirts. Like that was my favorite Rock.
I mean, Ricky Starks is kind of doing that.
Yeah, he's doing it a little bit, but people like to talk about the Hollywood Rock being their favorite guy. My favorite guy was the People's Champ in 2000, $500 shirts, short sideburns or whatever, kind of trimming them up, but still there a little bit. The shades, sliding and doing the People's Elbow.
Yeah.
Nah, bro, like that was where it was at. Like, and I feel like as an athlete, I feel like Rock is real underrated. Like as an athlete, as a wrestler,
he is because it was so short.
Like, bro, like I would love to drop like 2000 Rock, in with some of the best guys, like and see like what he can do because he always had like kind of good matches with like your super worker types of the time that he was in. Mm-hmm. Like there's a famous Raw match with him and Eddie Guerrero. Him and Jericho always had pretty good matches as well. Mm-hmm. Him and Angle was always awesome. And as far as heavyweights, him and Triple H I think had like pretty good chemistry and. Like we knew he was well versed in the real man match. He would beat the shit out of you. Like ask Mick Foley.
Yep.
The only thing you never really seen Rock with was really him versus like the people that are really bigger than him. Like they didn't really go that direction a lot. But I think he would be an interesting case of like what would he look like outside of the time he was in.
Yeah, and also it's like relative to his era and his experience, he would like obviously people would be like, well, what about Kurt Angle? But outside of fucking Kurt Angle, he was fucking great for like his level of experience in relative to the time and the promotion he was in. He was so good, and I think people get lost in that when you look at like when we talk about like the place and time thing. Is like you had to be there. Like there weren't too many people that were out here just going out here having like 3.5 high threes, an occasional, a very occasional 4 or whatever else with like. When did he start wrestling?
1996.
Right. Like, and doing that, like, on the biggest promotion in the world by, like, in 2 years. That was really hard to do. Like, I don't even know. I have to go through his cage match, look at how many matches he had. But, like, that's back then when it was, like, you got to have 500 matches to not suck. Mm-hmm. Was the talk. And it's like, he was doing all that shit on the road.
Right, and he was someone obviously had the gift of gab and like the big smile and obviously they had plans. They had a lot of smart people at the
from the
time
beginning.
that were like, "Yo, this is fucking it." Like, and it took a little while, but I remember being a kid and liking Rocky Maivia or whatever. So like, I was down with him from day one, and then when he turned, I was like, bro, he's just even cooler now. Like, so it's just. I think he's, and then I think we should bring up like his return as well, because obviously there was like, it was a different time, a different age, like that he pretty much brought a lot of people back, like including me and James, to watch what he had going on then, and I think it worked like really well, at least that first year. Like, it was like biggest WrestleMania gate of all time, of course, like big, I love the match too. And they were in Miami, like, and it was like the stadium sellout. I didn't enjoy the after WrestleMania 28 leading up to 29 as much, because I felt like they leaned on him too much. I think CM Punk kind of got to his level, and kind of like in a way that people like the revisionist history of like thinking like John Cena like had like out-talked The Rock or embarrassed The Rock. Like, I don't think that was the case at all, personally, right? I think Cena had some shining moments against him. I would say, like, like some of the rap stuff was entertaining, but like I felt like The Rock like had it in the bag or whatever. The second time around, not as much. It wasn't, I just wasn't feeling the whole thing or whatever. But I feel like CM Punk like humbled him, like the one we were in attendance for, and then like CM Punk was just like, all right, man, that man made The Rock look mortal. Like, this nigga's for real. But what do you like make of like, and obviously there's a looming threat of him coming back again, essentially. Like, they want to really get to play cousins and really feed into this or whatever. And I never really saw the heat behind that matchup personally. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I'd rather see like Rock come back for Lesnar or something like that. But what do you make of like the future prospects of The Rock, and also like his run since 2012? I'd say.
I mean, it's instrumental to, like, how do I say this? John Cena and CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, by the things that happened in in and around WrestleMania 28, became bigger stars. Right? Like, we do not start One Nation Radio without The Rock coming back. Like, obviously it's just an us thing, but like, you talked about it, biggest WrestleMania gate ever. They thought they were going to be able to do this forever. It brought in the wave of the part-timers or whatever else. And like, that match was great. That first match was great. The second match is, people, I think it is not a great match. However, it is better than people give it credit for being. A lot of people wanted a different match. But he was giving, like, the stuff he did with Punk and with Cena was awesome. The times he comes back, even unannounced, like, it blows up your fucking phone, and you gotta go to Raw or whatever the hell to see what the hell's going on. That lets you know, like, that's the reason why people were so furious or mad when, like, the egg thing happening didn't show up at a Survivor Series, like, because it's The Rock. But like, yeah, like, I thought the stuff that he did when he was back was quality, and there's matches for him to do, like you mentioned, like Roman and Brock, and I thought we were going to get Roman and Brock, or Brock and Brock, at WrestleMania 30, but he got so beat up in the 29 match that, like, the production company insurance stuff for the movies, like, no, we're not doing that. We're not covering that shit. So that's why we've been at the standstill. But yeah, like, this last run seemingly would have to be the last run for Rock, and like, if it happens, it'll get me to tune in. It absolutely will. I'm not even gonna pretend like, no, they're having Rock and drop. No, bullshit. Bullshit. The Rock will have me, like, they announced The Rock that he will be there. I will be tuned in, like literally 1 minute before that happens to go see what he does, or whatever else, and all that kind of stuff, and we'll go from there. And I hope to enjoy it. And like Brock is super talented, Roman is super talented, and hopefully they'll come up with something that doesn't feel contrived. They can come up there and go face to face, and talk about who's the best and that sort of thing. And hopefully they have some fun with it. But yeah, like I thought, you think of all the other part timers we've had, like who did it better? Because Undertaker ran his course, Triple H ran his course, Shane, that shit always sucked.
Yep. Like there's Brock, but I don't know. I kind of
Brock,
put Brock in a different category.
Brock ran his course quickly too, years ago. Like Brock shit started hotting and phased down. Edge, that shit faded out by WrestleMania.
Time.
Yep. Yeah, it's
like they're hoping they can start getting Cena, but like that don't look like it's the case. Like it feels like Cena's like he gave him SummerSlam, he gave him last summer, and then I don't know how much more Cena. Too. Yeah, like I don't know how much more Cena is gonna be, around. So appreciate Cena while you can.
Yeah. But I just Rock is a 101, man.
Yep. Happy birthday to Rock.
Right place, right time, all that. Like it's one thing where it's like the talent or whatever else, but it's also like ain't no way that The Rock could be The Rock now. Ain't no way. They would have fucked him up.
That shit, wasn't nobody writing that shit he was coming up with.
Nope.
So, shouts out to The Rock for sure. So switching gears, we have AEW Dynamite, and